hidden in an unassuming forest, remains a unique collection. Over 200 classic cars ranging from the 30s to the 80s lie in a state of pure decay. In this episode, we're venturing into this mysterious forest to uncover the story of why these cars ended up here. We'll start at the border of the graveyard, inside an ordinary-looking forest. The graveyard contains several yards with different kinds of vehicles. The first one we're looking at contains mostly cars from the 60s. But some are a bit older. It really is quite a diverse collection of classic vehicles that once roamed the streets and lands of Europe. The condition of most of the cars is really bad, mostly unfixable if you'd ever wanted to restore them to their former glory. The vehicles have become one with nature, now serving as a safe haven for animals, plants, and moss. But back to the vehicles, some are more unique than others. One really cool model is this Panhard PL17, dating back to the late 50s. Panhard was a French manufacturer which created these futuristic-looking vehicles until the late 60s. In fact, quite a few now defunct brands are located here, such as Simca. You might be wondering why there are so many classic cars in this seemingly random forest. There's little to no information online about what this place was, but what we discovered is that this car graveyard was in fact part of a car salvage yard established around the late 60s or early 70s. The salvage yard bought crashed cars. This is also noticeable when looking at some cars containing pretty considerable damage. They did this probably to collect parts of them to repair other vehicles or to sell these parts. At the time, they mostly dealt with newer vehicles. But also some rather more classic ones, which have rusted away considerably more. We have now reached another yard. This one contains some less old models this time, largely dating back to the 70s. Several old Citroën DS cars stood abandoned here. But also some German cars, such as this BMW and Mercedes. All the cars you see here are standing on plain dirt ground. This is the #1 cause of why these cars are in such a bad condition. The soil underneath is usually quite damp, This damp causes the metal to rust even faster compared to when they are standing on asphalt or concrete. For example, the cars placed on top of another car are in better condition than the others. In the back, the most modern models were located, such as these two Citroën CX models, dating back to the early 80s. Besides this, a sporty, now rare Fiat Ritmo Abarth 2000 was also abandoned and decaying. We encountered probably one of the larger vehicles on the terrain. That was this old truck. The truck collapsed on itself in a spectacular way, leaving nothing more than a heap of rusty metal behind. In the trailer, a surprise was awaiting us. It was filled with parts, but also complete engines. All of this made it quite weird, leaving us wondering why it was all left in such a state of abandonment. The reason why this salvage yard got abandoned is unknown. What is known is that it was abandoned somewhere in the 80s. After the company ceased its operations, nothing was cleared out, leaving it in a time capsule-like state. It was time to head over to our last section of the car graveyard. The first thing we came across was this vintage city bus, which was a weird find compared to the other vehicles on the terrain. The Dutch words of stad, which means city, were also visible on the bus. So it probably served somewhere in a Dutch or Belgian city. Next to it, an old first-generation BMW 5 Series was located, a 528i to be exact. We didn't look at the mileage during our exploration, but if we take the date of when the salvage yard closed down compared to the age of this car, we can assume it had quite low mileage. As we ventured further, it became apparent that the majority of the cars were older. Unfortunately, many were completely rusted through, resembling nothing more than heaps of rust. Most of the area had been reclaimed by nature, making it much harder to traverse. But one can only imagine what might be hiding in there.
Wel goede staat nog. Nou, vergeleken met de rest.
Ja.
With this, we've covered all of this unique classic car graveyard. As a classic car lover myself, it is truly saddening to see these incredible pieces of automotive history going to waste. But in a way, the former beauty of these vehicles has transformed into something equally stunning. The beauty of nature reclaiming them and turning them back to nature. With most of the cars being unfixable, they will likely continue to sit and be a part of this unreal scene of automotive history.